What a month for Microsoft Fabric, and Ignite's happening right now. We've got a big wave of updates rolling out across the platform, from data engineering and real-time intelligence to Power BI and Copilot. Stick around, because we're diving into what's generally available, what's new in preview, and of course, a few amazing demos you don't want to miss. Be sure to check out the monthly update blog for all the details, QR code on the screen. I'm Adam Saxton. This is the Microsoft Fabric update for November 2025. Let's begin. This month's GA wave makes Fabric more connected, more intelligent, and faster than ever. We're talking mirroring support for SQL Server, PostgreSQL, and Cosmos DB, bringing your data straight into OneLake, where all the power is. Warehouse snapshots and OneLake diagnostics make it easier to manage and troubleshoot your data estate. And the Microsoft Python driver for SQL databases opens the door for developers to connect and query Fabric data seamlessly. And if you haven't tried Fabric AI functions yet, you're missing out. Next up, public preview features, and wow, the innovation keeps coming. We've got OneLake Catalog Govern extended for tenant admins, giving admins deeper visibility and control. ReadWrite permissions in OneLake now mean real collaboration without compromising governance. Data virtualization for Fabric SQL databases lets you query OneLake data instantly, no ETL needed. New developer power-ups like identity columns, data clustering, and entity diagrams in Event House. And if you love working visually, maps now support imagery layers and data labeling for even richer insights. And Copilot fans, it's getting smarter in Data Factory with natural language pipeline expressions and IntelliSense in Dataflows Gen 2. Enough of all my talking, let's see it in action. Here are the demos from the Microsoft Fabric engineering team, showcasing the features that are changing how you build, govern, and scale your data. Let's roll.
Workspace administrators can set up encryption using customer-managed keys at a workspace level. All customer content stored in that workspace is encrypted using that specified key, including Fabric SQL databases. To enable customer-managed keys in your Fabric workspace, you need to go to the Workspace settings here in the upper right corner. From the Workspace settings pane, you need to select Encryption. Once you're there, enable Apply Customer-Managed Keys, and in the key identifier field, you need to enter your customer managed key identifier, which is basically the key that you have configured in your Azure Key Vault. Once you've done, just click Apply. You need to understand that there are certain items that can't be created when you enable this setting, and then you just click Yes. As you can see now, the status of the encryption is in progress. And if we click on the details, you can actually see that my database is in the process of being encrypted. Once the encryption is done, you will see a status active. To verify if your database is successfully encrypted, run this query to retrieve the database encryption keys. As you can see here, we're currently using an asymmetric key, which basically means that we're using the customer managed key that was configured on a workspace level, and the status of our database is encrypted. So this proves that our database here, my CMK-DB, is completely encrypted using the customer managed key.
Previously, the Copilot Sidecar chat supported two key scenarios. We have the natural language to SQL conversion, and also the documentation-based Q&A that allows you to get quick answers granted in our official Microsoft Learn documentation. Now users can ask more types of questions, such as performance monitoring, schema design, troubleshooting errors, code analysis, and more. Let me show you a quick example that uses Copilot to identify anti-patterns and refactor a query. In the Copilot Sidecar chat, I'm going to ask, why is this query running slow? And then I'm going to paste a query from the query editor that I have to see if Copilot is able to identify what makes this query slow. With the help of our new code analysis tool, Copilot identifies that this query is slow because it prevents the database engine from efficiently using any index on a specific column, leading to a full scan of the table. To improve performance, Copilot suggested me a new query that I can use that efficiently uses indexes. Let's take a look at our second example. In my query editor, I'm getting a performance alert. The performance summary is telling me that the block queries per second is currently above threshold, and I'm not exactly sure what causes it. I'm going to use Copilot to further investigate the issue. I open up the Copilot Sidecar chat again, click Get Started, And I'm going to switch my execution mode to read and write with approval mode. I'm going to tell Copilot that I am getting a blocked query alert. Copilot is going to leverage my DMV information as well as other performance monitoring related knowledge. It explains to me the reason why I'm getting a block query alert and followed up by asking me if I like to start by checking the currently blocked sessions in my database. Here I'm going to say yes. After loading for a few seconds, Copilot tells me what my blocked session IDs are. And it also gives me a high-level summary of what my blocked query does and asks me if I like to get any suggestions on how to resolve this issue. I'm going to say yes to Copilot again, and now Copilot returns me with a whole list of suggestions on where I can get started. Since I already knew that this blocking session is non-critical, I'm going to go ahead and directly kill the blocking session. And since I am in read and write with approval mode, I can actually directly run this query within the Sidecar chat without going to the query editor. Let's hit run, and now the blocking session has been successfully killed to resolve the issue.
Auditing for Fabric SQL database can be managed at the database level using Manage SQL Auditing. Here I can see audit everything is selected, which is a default. It captures every batch executed in the database. I can switch to custom auditing from the portal. For custom auditing, I can use these pre-configured scenarios like audit data reads and writes, schema changes, audit permission changes, and login attempts. I can also use custom audit to configure action groups. If you have any requirement to use set of action groups, you can choose the required set of action groups using custom events. I can manually set the retention to 3 years, 5 years based on my compliance needs. I can use predicate expressions to filter the logs like select statements, dynamic SQL, specific schema, user, or a table. For this demo, I'm going to use the pre-configured scenarios. I would like to audit all data reads and writes and schema changes for this database. I'm saving my audit configuration. Now I'm going to quickly run some queries in my database. I'm creating a customer accounts table to capture customer data. Now I'm inserting some data into my customer accounts. Now I'm doing a bulk update to apply 10% discount on the balance for all the existing customers. Let's verify the update. So now if you see, we did created the table, did some inserts and updates. So the current configuration should capture this information in the audit logs. I'm looking at the specific fields like event time, action, ID, statement. I can see that all the actions are captured here: create, insert, update, and select. And I can see the client is Fabric SQL Editor, which we used to make these updates. Here you can see that the logs are stored in OneLake. This is my workspace ID and artifact ID. We created a folder called audit, which is a read-only folder to make logs immutable. And I'm filtering for the customer accounts table.
Opening notebooks with large table outputs can be frustrating when it's slow. Now progressive rendering changes that experience by loading display outputs incrementally instead of waiting for everything to finish. You can start editing and running your notebook right away while the large outputs continue to render in the background. It makes working with large notebooks smoother and faster, especially for data-heavy notebooks.
The new Error Insight Summary Copilot in Pipeline is designed to make error handling smarter and faster. When dealing with pipelines that fill with dozens or even hundreds of errors, it can be overwhelming to investigate each issue manually. With this Copilot capability, you can now get a concise, intelligent summary of all the activity errors. You just need to have one click on Error Insights button to get the insights. Copilot grouped them into 3 categories, and the main errors are caused by copy activity doesn't have sufficient permission or file path is misconfigured. Each category includes an issue summary, root cause analysis, and recommended actions with troubleshooting document link, making the process more efficient and saving time.
Hierarchical view helps you navigate through different job layers. With this feature, you'll be able to search through a job to its upstream or downstream jobs. Here I have my example pipeline. This is what we can imagine as our tier 1 upstream job. Nested inside of this pipeline, I've added a notebook activity. This notebook activity is pretty rudimentary, so we've just got a simple hello world command here. This is what we call a downstream job on tier 2. In my pipeline, I've also automated it so that it runs on a schedule for the whole day and it'll run every 5 minutes. As I navigate to Monitoring Hub, I've already filtered to view only pipelines, notebooks within my workspace. Let me also add columns for the hierarchical view integration. To do this, I'm going to head to column options and toggle on upstream runs and downstream runs. And I'm going to go ahead and click apply. My Monitoring Hub view should now also show me the hierarchical view of the upstream run and downstream runs. I can even toggle into view more details. So for example, this notebook run, I can see the upstream run is the pipeline that I've created. And then within my pipeline runs, I can see all of the downstream runs. So if I had multiple notebook activities, it would show all of them here. This is a super exciting feature that we've added to enhance observability and monitoring for your workloads in Fabric today.
Fabric SQL Database comes with built-in automated backups. The first demo I'm going to show you is the ability to configure a retention period for this automated built-in backups. For that, first I will go to my workspace and find the database for which I want to configure the retention and then select the database. Once I'm connected to the database, I will find this settings icon on the top left and then click on it. In the settings blade, one of the parameters is the backup retention policy. When I click on it, I can see the current retention period, which right now says 7 days. From here, I can update this value to any time between 1 and 35 days. Once I update and save this setting, in the next 35 days, I can restore back to any point within this last 35 days. The second capability I want to show you today is the restore database. For this, I will go back to the workspace dashboard and I will select the 3 dots next to the database for which I want to perform the restore, and then select the restore database option. In this window, first I need to type the name of the database. Verify the source database information. Now I can see the earliest restore point and the latest restore point here. This is the restorable time range, and I can issue a restore to any point within this range. By default, the most recent point is selected. I can click on the calendar and choose any time within this range. Depending on the size of the database, the restore operation should be completed in a few minutes. So I can click create and let the restore operation succeed.
Let me show you how you can turn hours into seconds with Fabric AI functions. As a global hotel chain manager, I need to analyze a high volume of guest feedback every week. In my Fabric notebook, I'll create a new Pandas data frame with all the customer reviews stored in my lakehouse. These reviews are in lots of different languages, so to start, I'll translate them all to English so I can better understand the feedback. I'll use the AI translate function, and in just one line of code, all the reviews are instantly translated. Because we have many hotels all over the world, I need to quickly see which location each review is about. To do that, I'll use the AI extract function to pull out the city names mentioned in the text. I'll specify that I only want one location per review and to just return the city name, not the country or region. Next, I want to understand the overall sentiment behind the feedback. I'll add a new column and use the AI analyze sentiment function. Here, I can specify the sentiment labels I care about or just use the defaults. Once it runs, I can see each review categorized as positive, negative, neutral, or mixed. Some of these reviews are quite long though. To make them easier to scan, I'll use the AI summarize function, and I'll tell it to make the summary brief, about 10 words or less. Now I have short, clear summaries that capture the essence of each review just at a glance. Next, I need to classify the reviews into specific categories to help our operations team. I'll use the AI classify function to assign each review to one of 5 categories. This lets us instantly see what area of the guest experience needs the most attention. Finally, I want to provide the best customer experience possible, so I'll use the AI generate response function to draft a reply. I'll specify to base the response off of the original review and to use the guest's name for a personable touch. Right away, I've generated thousands of personalized and empathetic responses for each review. This is just a glimpse into what AI functions can do. Take a look at all the functions available, custom configurations, and turn your data into intelligence with just a single line of code.
Warehouse snapshots provide customers with a consistent and stable representation of their warehouse as of a specific point in time. A data engineer, responsible for running hourly ETL jobs in his Contoso daily sales warehouse, wants to ensure that the data analysts have a consistent source of truth. Whilst their hourly ETL is running, the data engineer wants to create a new warehouse snapshot before starting her ETL. Here, data engineer can choose to create a warehouse snapshot from the current warehouse state. They can also select to create a warehouse snapshot from a previous point in time. The data engineer chooses to capture the current warehouse state by selecting Current. They give the warehouse snapshot a name and clicks Create. The analyst wants to query the warehouse data whilst ETL is running. They select the warehouse snapshot created by the data engineer and starts running queries against it. Analysts can rest assured that the data they are querying is static, consistent, and not changing whilst his queries are run. As ETL jobs complete, the data engineer can roll forward the warehouse snapshot to represent the latest consistent state of the warehouse. Data engineer can do this through the UI or programmatically. Through a few simple clicks, the data engineer can capture the current state of the warehouse by selecting Manage Warehouse Snapshots. In this view, they can select Capture New State and choose to capture the current state. The data engineer can also update the snapshot programmatically by adding a step to the end of her ingestion pipeline. Here they can include an alter database statement command to update the timestamp of her warehouse snapshot to the current timestamp, reflecting the end of the ETL process. The analyst is now able to continue querying the most up-to-date data seamlessly without interrupting any existing queries that were already executing before the snapshot timestamp was updated. This is possible due to the warehouse's snapshot isolation semantics, which ensure that the most recent committed transaction is read whilst the connection string stays intact when a query is run. An informational message is displayed showing the timestamp being reflected in the warehouse snapshot.
Data clustering in Fabric Data Warehouse arranges data in storage to improve query efficiency. When a query includes predicates filtering on clustered columns, the engine can skip entire files that fall outside the specified filter range. We have a typical order items table that holds sales order items. In this scenario, there are two versions of the same table, a standard one, and a copy that applies data clustering. The second table incorporates the cluster by clause, clustering by the sales order key column. Both tables contain the same data. First, we run a query on the regular table. This query took more than 40 seconds to complete on the regular table. We'll save the statement ID to review details about this query later. Next, we execute the same query on the copy of the table that uses data clustering. This time, the query completed in just about a second, a remarkable improvement. We'll save the statement ID of the second query, just like we did before. To understand why the query that used the data clustering table was so much faster, let's look at what occurred behind the scenes. Using Query Insights, we will analyze the CPU time consumed and data volume scanned by each query. The first row in the results corresponds to the query on the clustered table. We can observe that it consumed only a fraction of the CPU time used by the other query and scanned roughly 3.5% of the data. Identity columns automatically generate unique numeric values for each new row in a table. These values act as surrogate keys, keys that have no business meaning but exist solely to ensure uniqueness and simplify relationships between tables. Let's go ahead and create a new table with a sales ID column, which will be our identity column. We can preview the table and confirm that there's no data in it. To see identity columns in action, we will ingest some data into our new table. Now that our new table has some data, let's select some rows and see the values assigned to the identity column. We can see that identity produced a unique value for each row. The engine manages key creation during ingestion, ensuring data integrity and uniqueness even in a distributed architecture where multiple nodes process data in parallel. By using identity columns on Fabric Data Warehouse, you gain a scalable, reliable, and efficient way to manage surrogate keys for large analytical workloads without worrying about key integrity or performance.
With ReadWrite permissions now available in OneLake security, you can safely enable users to write data to specific files or folders in OneLake without needing to provide elevated access to the workspace. In this demo, a bank is using AI to process loan applications that are uploaded by the branch managers. The branch managers can't see data for other branches but need to be able to upload new application PDFs to the shared lakehouse. The admin starts by sharing the lakehouse with the branch managers. This will let the branch managers find the lakehouse in OneLake, but doesn't give them any access to data yet. Next, they create a OneLake security role that grants read-write access to only the relevant branch folders. They choose Grant, then the read-write permissions for the role. Next, only the Northwest branch folder is granted access to. They then create a second role that contains RLS and lets them read the loans data for their region. By configuring the RLS on the city loans table, branch managers will still be able to query the table while ensuring the security of the other branch's data. With the roles created, the branch manager can now use OneLake File Explorer to easily upload the PDFs each day, but they aren't able to see the Northeast branch PDFs. Further, they can query the city loans table but will only see the rows for their region.
Those were some amazing demos. What are you most excited about? What else do you want to see? Drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. For all the details, scan that QR code on the screen or hit the link in the description to check out the monthly update blog. And don't forget to join the Microsoft Fabric community to connect, learn, and share your own Fabric journey. Thanks for watching. Keep being awesome, and we'll see you in the next video.